Afternoon, everyone. I know it feels like evening. It's just been a long day, but thanks for all coming here with us and joining us today. I'm Robert Greenwald. I'm the director of the Treatment Access Expansion Project, an initiative of the Center for Health Law and Policy Innovation. We're one of the lead organizers for AIDSWatch, and I just welcome you to this AIDSWatch virtual reception. The reception is always one of my most favorite parts of AIDSWatch, as we get to honor and recognize people living with HIV who are at the forefront of HIV advocacy. And as you'll hear in a few moments, this year our three awardees are clearly persistent and relentless advocates. Advocacy is so essential to our efforts to end the HIV pandemic, and that is really what AIDSWatch is about, ending this pandemic. Its success depends on all of our participation, and that is really why it is so exciting to see hundreds of people participating in this second virtual AIDSWatch, which is hopefully our final virtual AIDSWatch, and next year we can all be together again in Washington, D.C. I just want to really end my comments by just highlighting, as you've heard from some of the other speakers, what a difference a year makes. As you heard many times, we now have a trifecta in Washington, D.C. The Democrats control the presidency, we have the House and the Senate. And this certainly turns the opportunity of the promise of ending the HIV epidemic to a reality. But we also know from past experience, we can't take any opportunities for granted. So I just want to remind us all, we just have to be persistent and relentless in our Hill visits on Wednesday, and really remind all of our elected and appointed officials that we have all we need in place to end this epidemic if they just follow and implement our legislative asks. That's all they need to do, and this epidemic will be over. So I just want you to rock Capitol Hill virtually, and not the way that the other folks rock it, but our way, being polite yet forceful, and of course, enjoy this reception. I want to turn it over to Carl.
Thank you, Robert. It's great to see you, and it's really excellent to be here virtually with all of you. It's been 5 years that I've had the pleasure of attending AIDSWatch, and every year my heart is just by the community that joins hands and brings their voices to advocate in Congress. And though we're remote, this year is no different. I'm loving seeing faces that I haven't seen in so long. Thank y'all for making the time. But Robert's right. Members of Congress, members of the administration, they need to hear from you to know what's best to do to end the epidemic. No one knows better than the folks who are living it every day in their communities. So don't be shy, share your story, be polite, as Robert said, and study the talking points. It's everything that you need to be familiar with how to make the legislative aspect of what AIDSWatch is all about. But again, a big thank you to all of you for lending your voices. A big, big, big thank you to the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus and Treatment Access Expansion Project for being wonderful partners year over year to make AIDSWatch an excellent and effective. Ronald.
Thank you, Carl, and welcome everyone. And on behalf of the steering committee of the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus, I want to welcome you to our virtual receptions program, which will be the presentation of the HIV Caucus's Persistent Advocate Awards. In previous in-person years, the Persistent Advocate Award was given at the caucus's reception at AIDSWatch. The award is given to individuals who over several years have demonstrated the depth of their commitment, their passion, and yes, their persistence in advocating on behalf of all people living with HIV. In my mind, those who receive the Persistent Advocate Award embody the meaningful engagement of people living with HIV. In the past, the award was a surprise for the recipient at the reception. That was our plan for 2020 also, but we all know what happened to those in-person plans, and here we are again in a virtual environment. But this year, as Robert pointed out, we have the real hope that maybe next year someone will be surprised. Our first award goes to Pat Kelly, and the award will be presented by Malcolm Reed. Malcolm.
Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon for those of you on the West Coast. It is a great honor for me to introduce Pat Kelly and to present this award to her. I asked Pat when I was told that I was going to introduce her, I asked Pat to send me her bio. It's 48 pages long, so I can't read all. But talk about a persistent advocate. Pat Kelly is a native New Yorker, so she's my homegirl, so I'm really happy about that. But she resides in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and at 66, she's aging gracefully and gratefully. She was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in 1985. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother of 8. She is the founder of the executive director of a family affair, Living Our Best Life, HIV/AIDS ministry at Victory Tabernacle in Orangeburg. She was the first class of Positive, POSITIVE, Voices Women's Health Advocacy Network in 2008, along with the Photo Voice Project. She is a founding member of Positive Women's Network USA and a former board member and treasurer. Pat is a member of Common Threads by graduating in the South Carolina class of 2009 and later completing the micro enterprising training in 2010, and currently the crafter trainer of Common Threads. Of Common Threads, and on the steering committee of Common Threads, where she serves as the vice chair. She has participated in marketplaces of Common Threads at USCA. She is also on the steering committee for the USPPL HIV caucus. She was a team member of the Next Generation AIDS United AIDS Alliance, where she presented the biomedical workshops to her community. She completed training under AIDS Alliance for Children, Youth, and Families as a consumer corp training. She was honored by 2020 Leading Women's Society of Sister Love in the first class of 2009. And she's a member of the South Carolina HIV Planning Council, where she is chair of the Women's Working Group. Talk about a persistent advocate. That's not all. There's plenty more on there, and I'm sure Pat will tell you all about it. But Pat, congratulations, and thank you for everything that you do for people living with HIV.
Woo! Wow. Thank you so much. Wow, that was a long introduction. It's not 48 pages. You're so funny. I feel very honored to accept this award. Wow, I truly was surprised when I got the message from Ronald a couple of days ago, and I was like, how did y'all keep that a whole year? And I still didn't know. But I am truly honored, and especially to say that if it wasn't for Positive Women's Network, that propelled my journey into this fierceness and things that I've done, I don't know if I would be here right now. But I am very, very grateful to receive this award. And again, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is much appreciated.
Congratulations.
Do we get to come off and cheer or what?
Congratulations. Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Congratulations, Pat, and thank you, Malcolm.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Pat. I kudos, yay.
Our next award goes to Kiva Le Cadena and will be presented by Marco Castro Borquez. Marco?
This is Marco, and
I am talking to all of you from Mexico. And the award that I'm going to introduce, it goes all the way to Hawaii. So we are connected to the Pacific. And before I talk about this incredible and such a empathetic, amazing human being, I wanted to say to all of you that I love you, that I miss you, that I see in all these faces right now. It makes me feel like at home. It's the first in a long time. So I want my love for you. I wanna say that I hope that all of you are safe, and I also want to say a big hug to heaven to those who have departed during the COVID-19. So we're a family, and it's great to be here. But the reason because I'm here is to introduce the next woman. We knew that we both were from the mission in San Francisco, but we never crossed paths during that time. We, the year that I was given this award, Kiva, at the end of and she said some beautiful things that I will never forget, and impacted me so much because I thought this person really likes me, and it was very meaningful. So for me, it was really important that I introduced this Lei Cadena. She is a native of San Francisco, I said, but lives in Hawaii, and she works for the Hawaii Island HIV/AIDS Foundation, and she does prevention. She's the prevention and program manager, and she also does community engagement. But Kiva does a lot more than that. Kiva is someone who also works in different organizations like Positively Trans, work with the caucus around the issues of MIPA. But I think that what we don't really know much about Kiva here is that she's also an icon in Hawaii. She's someone who provides enlightenment to women, young women, trans women of color, and she's an amazing human being. I'm very honored to introduce the Positive Leadership Awards to Kiva Lei Cadena, and I want all of you to help me with a lot of noise. We can just like unmute and make a lot of noise because she deserves that and more. Congratulations, Kiva Lei.
Congratulations.
You go.
Way to go.
Wow. Wow, thank you. I don't think I've ever been called an icon before. So that's a first. Like I got chicken skin, goosebumps. Thank you, Marco, for that beautiful introduction. I'm honored. First off, seeing all of your faces that we all do this work, and it's passionate and it's important, and it strikes deep inside of our hearts and in our spirits. And so whenever we get this opportunity to be with each other, even in a virtual space, I feel your energy. And so thank you for just having this space for us, because it's been much needed for me, and I'm sure for so many others in this reception. Thank you. Mahalo nui ya o ko pakahi apau, to each and every single one of you for recognizing me. I don't really know what to say. It's an absolute honor to be amongst so many of you, to be amongst all of you, but to be amongst so many leaders and mentors, and to be considered as to be a part of that circle. It's a complete honor for me, and I didn't do this by myself. You know, like Marco said, I'm just a young girl from the mission. Well, not young anymore, but I'm just a girl from the mission. And I had a tough life. And what's what immediately struck me about this work is that I have been able to use what so many people have considered liabilities in life. And those liabilities have turned into assets, into being a strong and a passionate and a confident advocate. I went to Washington, D.C. under the POP grant with AIDS United about 7 years ago. And I was sitting at a table for the very first time amongst 17 other people that were living with HIV and were presenting on the work that they did in their areas in different parts of the country. And I was in deep awe of the magic that was happening in that room at that time. And I heard a little old presentation about MIPA, about meaningful involvement of people with AIDS. And Andrew and Nana and Barb presented something so important to me. I started to hear my own story in the presentation that they were talking about. And I have been that young brown trans girl that fell in the cracks, and my health suffered because of it. And then to be in this powerful space of people that were moving and shaking and making things happen for people like me across the country, I just really felt an important responsibility because of that presentation that those three did that day. And it changed my life. And I immediately remember Andrew and I were in a side meeting, just the two of us, and I went rogue on my organization. I said, I want to change our grant. I want to change our project that we're doing for this grant. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to be important enough. I want it to change the lives of people living with HIV. I want them to realize that there's a power and that there's a magic and that there's something important for them to do on this journey, not just suffer with a virus, but to really participate not only in our own health and wellness, but in the health and wellness of every single person that tests positive for this virus. And I got to do that because of AIDS United and this POP grant. And then it just snowballed from there. And I've been blessed to be in spaces across the country that have taught me and showed me more and more about what it really means to stand up for your community and stand up for your people. And so I have so many people to thank, and I'm not going to take too much time. But first off, and I'm going to cry when I say this just because you guys mean a lot to me. You guys gave me my strength, and I appreciate that so much. So first off, I'd like to thank Julio Fonseca. He was a program manager for the POP grant and AIDS United back when I first joined this amazing community, and he made it comfortable and fun and important and significant. And we've had a lot of wonderful conversations, and we've got to see our likeness. And Julio, I would never be here without you. So thank you so much. To Andrew Spiedelman and to Barb Cardell and to Nana Khanna for that amazing convening that day, and for all of the work and the support and the mentorship that you've given me over the years to continue to help me to grow as an important advocate for my community, for Native Hawaiians, for trans girls, and for anybody living with HIV. I thank you for being mentors to me, to AIDS United, and to all the important people that do that so much work for us, and for putting together this amazing convention that I've had the opportunity to come to 5 times now. I appreciate all of your mentorship and all of the help that you've guided me through all these years. To the Transgender Law Center and Cecilia Chung for believing in me and for giving me a space to advocate and to represent as a leader for trans women across the country. I appreciate you, Cecilia. To my Positively Trans family, my sisters and brothers in advocacy and in change, I appreciate you all. Thank you for being my family and my support. To the organizations that have given me space to be able to not only spread the message and do the work, but also to support myself and support my family, the Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center, Life Foundation, and now the Hawaii Island HIV and AIDS Foundation. Thank you for giving me the space to continue to live and thrive and work. I appreciate you so much. And most of all, to somebody that I hold very dear to me. I call him Mama Bear. His name is Kunane Dreyer. I would not be anything without him. He gave me my first job fresh, clean and sober, a year clean and sober off the streets. And he believed in me as an outreach worker and gave me my first job and has continued to be a mentor and to be a guide and to be somebody who cheers me on, right next to me, holding my hand for all of these years, for the last 11 years. And I would not be here without him. So Kunani, thank you so much. And to all of you for being here and for continuing to do this work, for continuing to share your energy and your magic with the community that so desperately needs to feel love. I appreciate your love and support. Mahalo nui ya pakahiapo for this special honor. I'm very, very appreciative and honored. Mahalo nui.
Congratulations, Kiva.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco.
Congratulations. By the way, Ronald has the awards and they're going to be mailed to you all.
Thank you, Marco. Our third award goes to Barb Cardell. And presenting the award is Andy Spieldenner. Andy?
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Ronald. Happy to be here with everybody. And thrilled to be able to give this award to Barb Cardell. So I met Barb, we started working together maybe 12 years ago. And my first thoughts about her was that she was pushy, smart, and committed. And so pushy and so committed that she actually was in a meeting with the ONAP director of the time, the Office of National AIDS Policy. He referred to her as a persistent advocate because she kept on getting in his face about, PLHIV issues. And so that's actually how we got to the name of this award, the Persistent Advocate Award. Now, over the time, we got closer and we've become family. We've called each other out, we've pulled each other in, and we've held each other together over some rough times. But I've also got to celebrate with her. I've known Barb to be an amazing chef, a loving partner, a skilled dog trainer, and a fierce leader in her local community. She has been the guiding light behind the Boulder County AIDS Project. She has served in every HIV organization and planning body in the state of Colorado, every single one. And she also led the change in the HIV criminalization laws in Colorado. And she really helped guide many of us. She helped shape a model for how to do this work on HIV criminalization by really centering the voices of people living with HIV and by focusing on our needs, our concerns, and being able to educate our community on the issue, to get people involved, to write the laws. She's been on the board of Positive Women's Network. She was on the board for a long time, and now she works there as the Director of Technical Assistance and Training. So PWN comes through again, the fierce woman of PWN. And the last thing I want to say about Barb is she always reminds us the power of our voices, people living with HIV, and the capacity to change. So Barb, congratulations on the Persistent Advocate Award.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you all so much. I am honored to receive this award today. Advocates and allies and accomplices, please know that you're seen and that your work, big and small, matters. It is valued and it is important. Never doubt that you can be the change in the world that you see necessary. I also bring into the room with us today so many who are no longer here. Sadly, this list is too long, and we know that so many of them still walk with us with their hands on our shoulders, giving us support, making sure that we never forget that all of the strides that we have made, all of the policies that have changed have been because we, as people living with HIV, have demanded it. And without community and without each other holding each other up, we would not be possible. So here's what I know, that without you, each and every one of you, I would not be here. That for too long, AIDS and HIV were ignored, they were minimized, People living with HIV were stigmatized, demonized. We all have that story of experience in our lives where we have lost something because of our HIV status. It could be a job. It could be a dream about going to school. It could be a friend who was murdered because they disclosed their status to someone who wasn't safe. We are survivors. We are thrivers. We created organizations. We wrote policy. We stormed the NIH. And we held our dime when others would not. That is the history of our movement. And that is why we demand that we be a part of every decision that is going to impact us. So y'all know I'm from Colorado. And so I have to read the Denver Principles, at least the statement from the advisory committee, because I think back to 1996 when I was trying to figure out how I fit into advocacy. And this statement gave me some sense that my voice and the voice of all the other people living with HIV that I love were really important. So, the statement from the Advisory Committee on People with HIV from the Denver Principles from 1983. We condemn attempts to label us as victims. It is a term which implies defeat, and we are only occasionally patients, a term which implies passivity, helplessness, and dependence upon the care of others. We are people living with HIV. We've never allowed researchers, doctors, or political folks to dictate what we need, and we demand that this be recognized, that this wisdom be honored and recognized, even in 2021. You need look no further than the wisdom of our community when we talk about disaggregating transgender data in any federal statistical, epidemiological information that's being followed. We have forced the CDC and so many others to acknowledge and promote that HIV treatment is effective prevention. That's the U equals U message. That came from us. That was us demanding how we be treated. And the inclusion of people living with HIV in all bodies that promote policies and programs that impact our life has been a backbone of our organization, our organizing, and our movement, and it must continue to do so. We will never step back. We will always demand that nothing about us is ever planned without us. We must demand that people living with HIV, that our network and our organizations in partnership with us demand meaningful involvement in any plan, including the End the HIV Epidemic Plan. We are so much more than the biomedical approach that it calls out. We must make sure that everything that is put into that plan serves us and serves our community. I will not yield space. I will not allow my community to yield space in which HIV decisions are being made. I do not believe that a researcher, a politician, a doctor, or even an organization can speak for us as well as we can speak for us. So I will demand space, and I will yield space to other people living with HIV who need to be centered, who are often not seen in these plans, who are often perhaps not as privileged as I am and as many of my partners are. So we will demand that there be space at all tables impacting our lives for Black women, for same gender loving men, for communities of color, for BIPOC communities, for trans and gender diverse families and sisters and partners, for youth and for sex workers. I come back to something that I often say that I feel like I should, have tattooed on the other arm from where I have the Denver Principle tattooed, which is, we are the subject matter experts. We demand our voices be heard now and always, for there will be no ending in the HIV epidemic without people living with HIV. So thank you for this award. And I look forward to so much more work and persistence, but most of all, love for you, my community members, and for our allies that recognize that we really have the answers. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. And again, collective congratulations to all three of our, and as you saw, very persistent advocates who give voice to our collective feelings and our determination, and knowing that they are with us and for us makes me feel good, and I'm sure it makes everyone feel good. So again, a collective congratulations to Pat, Kiva, and to Bob.